Marvin, the greatest male actor of the 20th century, and I mean male. I don't mean actor like Sir Laurence Olivier or Dustin Hoffman, which Marvin has acting chops, no question about it. But I'm saying that he was a male, unquestionably. He served in the Pacific during the Great World War II, as Patton put it. He got his butt almost shot off, and he made jokes about it. He almost died, and his career was iconic. I mean, he played a nemesis to Shiro Mifune in Hell in the Pacific. He played Liberty Valance in the man who shot Liberty Valance. So he played a character so evil that he represented an epoch, if you will. He was the real deal. I really think that if you push come to shove and you got in a fight with him, he would kick your ass. And I think he could. He was real. And I want to talk about 3 films that I think epitomize his career and why Lee Marvin is great. I want to talk about Point Blank. I want to talk about The Big Red One. And I want to talk about The Dirty Dozen. 2 of those you might be very familiar with. And one of them you might or you may not know any of them. The Big Red One was directed by Sam Fuller. Sam Fuller was another one who was for real. He was a real guy. He had actually joined up in World War II and served in a unit where 75-80% of the people were lost. He made movies about this. He made movies about war, The Fixed Bayonet. But The Big Red One, Fuller got big money from a studio to make. He didn't have to cut corners, and Lee Marvin played the main male protagonist in the film. He killed people at knife point. He ordered men around. He was the main guy. He was the main sergeant. He kept everybody in line. He was the guy who did it. So yeah. So that, it showed his maleness, and it showed how tough he was and what he was capable of and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. That's the first movie I want to talk about. The second one, or I already talked about. The second one is Point Blank, which if you haven't seen, you have to see it. It was directed by John Borman. And in this film, Marvin is betrayed by his wife and his best friend. He's left for dead, and he comes back. And he pretty much tears down a whole LA mafia all by himself. He pretty much has them all running against each other, and it is just a tactical, brilliant film. And he stars next to Angie Dickinson when she was a young woman, and she was just utterly gorgeous. And they play parts. And my favorite line in it, she goes, "What's my last name?" And then he looks back at her and says, "What's my first name?" Because he was just known as Walker the whole film. Walker. I don't even think they told his name. But he played this just very broken, bitter, hurt man. You know, he wasn't a crybaby. He couldn't cry. He couldn't act. He could not act. And by the end of the film, you're left wondering, well, how did he feel about it? What exactly was he trying to do there? Where exactly was he going? You're left at the end, you don't know what happened to him. You just know that he was broken. He was a broken up guy, and he played it brilliantly. And the last I want to talk about is his most popular film, I'm sure by far, is The Dirty Dozen, which stars Charles Bronson, Jim Brown, Telly Savalas, And that Kennedy, that big Kennedy fella that made all the movies. I forgot his name, but he was another big one. John Cassavetes, Donald Sutherland. I mean, I know I've missed some. I missed a bunch of good actors. Robert Ryan, and he played this really tough guy, Clint Walker. Clint Walker, my Uncle Bob would always say, "You're big like Clint Walker." He'd always refer to anything big was Clint Walker. You know, he was big enough to go bear hunting with a switch. But anyway, Lee Marvin was just a total man in the film, and it showed him in tactics, it showed him in fighting, it showed him as a true military man, as a true martial artist, and everything. He really got his street cred in that film, and he pulled it off beautifully, and it was just a great movie. It was just a great movie, great fun, great entertainment. And at the end, Lee Marvin is left alive with Charles Bronson, another one of the great males of the 20th century. So anyway, I just want to say that Lee Marvin is and was, you know, a great actor, a great film actor, an iconic actor, a real man, if you will. And I would check out those 3 films especially. If you could only watch one of them, watch Point Blank. Point Blank is just an incredible movie. Bye-bye.